welcome to Hockey with Ice, the Monday live stream on October 23rd. I hope you're doing well. My name is Matt. Welcome along if you're watching live or if you're watching back later on. If you are watching live, of course, you can join in via the YouTube chat and I can ping your comments up on the screen. I will quickly check if the chat is working. Hello on the chat. There we go. The chat is working. The comment is working. We're all good to go. And isn't that a good thing? Because there is so much to look forward to, so much to cover over the next half hour or so, because so much has happened across the hockey leagues, across Europe and across the NHL. In Europe, last week saw the final part of the Champions Hockey League regular season. The final few playoff places were grabbed by the final 5 teams, and they have set up all of the brackets for the remainder of the playoffs from here. So we will be catching up on all of that, as well as looking over the different leagues in Sweden and Finland, and a bit of roster news as well. Plenty of players finding new homes over the past week or so. So we'll be covering all of that. And then the NHL. We have Frozen Frenzy coming on Tuesday night. All 32 teams are in action on Tuesday. That should be very exciting. Unfortunately for me, as an Oilers fan, if you've seen the video on the YouTube channel, from bad to worse was the thing I put on the thumbnail. Connor McDavid, out injured. That is not good news. It's not good news for the NHL, of course, because he's such a great player, but particularly for the Edmonton Oilers, it is a disaster, and it's not been a very good start to the season, even with Connor McDavid. So that is a big talking point, and plenty of other big NHL talking points to walk through and to think about. There you've got a list on the screen. Red Wings flying, Reckless Rasmus, goal for Leo, McDavid injured, and plenty more. If you've got anything else you'd like to chat about the next half hour, let me know on the chat and I will do my best to cover it and pass on my opinions, pass on your opinions. Plenty of hockey to enjoy. Let's start off here in Europe and take a look at all the news around the European hockey leagues. So it really was a thrilling end to the Champions Hockey League regular season. If you were watching the live stream last week, you will know that there were 8 teams going for the 5 remaining places. And the final match day was split over Tuesday and Wednesday last week. The big shock, boy, was it a big shock, came in Switzerland, where Switzerland's BLBN defeated the reigning Champions Hockey League champions Tampere 6-3. The result not only secured BLBN's playoff place, but ensured that Tampere's defence of their CHL crown would falter at the first hurdle. Big scenes, big shock out there in Finland. I watched the game live on YouTube. It was available in YouTube here in the UK. Always worth checking the Champions Hockey League website. It depends on the local TV rights as to whether it's available or not, but they do have everything on the YouTube channel. So well worth checking if it's geo-blocked or if it's available in your area. It is available in the UK, unless the games are on Fireplay here in the UK. And I watched this game. Everything looked to be going fine for Tampere. They got 2-0 up early on. Nick Halloran with a goal and a power play goal by Petteri Puhaka. However, the game was turned on its head in just 4 minutes, and Tampere felt the full force of the experimental power play rules that Champions Hockey League have brought in for this season. So it all started with BN's Jere Salonen getting put in the penalty box on a slashing call. Looks like a perfect opportunity for Tampere to take a really commanding lead. Instead, barely 20 seconds into the one-man advantage, former Edmonton Oiler Gaten Haas managed to flick the puck to Mike Kunstler, who raced through on net, flicked the puck past Christian Helienko and can not only cut the deficit in half, but because of these experimental rules, it also meant that Topra's power play was cut short after just 20 seconds. So a big shift in momentum there, which was followed up 2 minutes later. Nick Halloran got called for hooking. BLBN took full advantage, scoring twice on the power play to take a 3-2 lead. The second goal by Petteri Puhaka meant that the score was 3-3 at the end of the second period, so it was all to play for in the final 20 minutes, but it was the home team who came through. So, yes, big ramifications in Finland because that's a real shock for Tampere to not even get through to the playoffs. They will now have to concentrate on the Liga, which they're doing well in, as we will cover in a few moments, but a big problem for them to go out at the first hurdle in Europe. We look over the other 4 teams that qualified. So, Czech team Vítkovice Radira qualified in impressive style by putting 5 goals past Ingolstadt, having goaltender Matti Machowski claiming a shutout, saving all 33 of the Germans' team shots on net. Lahti Pelicans, a Finnish team who were able to do well and the final match day, they also scored 5 to secure their playoff place, defeating Red Bull Salzburg 5-1. Really disappointing European campaign for Salzburg. It's the first time in recent times, as how the Champions Hockey League format is nowadays, that Salzburg have failed to get through to the playoff stage. So back to the drawing board for Salzburg there. Rapperswil gave up a 2-goal lead to lose in Sweden against Vecchia, but the 9 points they did accumulate over their 6 match days was just good enough to squeak into the playoffs, into the top 16, so that got them over the line. Meanwhile, HWI Trinec had to wait until Wednesday for their final game, but they made no mistake, beating Denmark's champions Aalborg 4-0. Now, unfortunately, from a UK and Ireland point of view, that result earlier in the evening meant that the Belfast Giants started their final game Champions Hockey League, knowing that their slim chance of trying to get through to the playoffs had already been extinguished. But unsurprisingly, that didn't stop Adam Keefe's team from putting in a really good showing in front of the Teal Army at the SSE Arena. They came up just short against Dinamo Pardubice, but put up a really good effort in that one. So they can be proud of their Champions Hockey League campaign this time around, even though they fell just short of trying to get into the playoffs this time around. At the other end of the table, Adler Mannheim came from 1-0 down to defeat Kazichka 4-1. In doing so, claiming top spot in the CHL. I'm interested in your views on this one because this is a bit of a controversial one, really. So when you look through the details, and we do have to look through the details, Växjö, Swedish champions, finished second. Despite the fact that they were the team that didn't lose a single game of their 6, Adler Mannheim won 5 and lost 1 game in overtime. So that narrowly gave them first place over Växjö, whose 16 points came from 4 regulation wins and 2 overtime wins. So the fact that Växjö didn't lose at all still means they came second, which I'm not too sure about. They're giving Adler Mannheim the benefit of winning 5 games across the piece. So I understand it, I guess, but there we go. That is Adler Mannheim at the top of the tree in the regular season standings. And it does make a difference because as we head into the playoff round, we work backwards. So first against 16th, second against 15th, third against 14th. And we can look at those matchups right now. Let me bring them up on screen for you if you're watching the live stream, and I can put them, I can embiggen them if you so wish. So we not only know who the playoff teams will be, we know how they will go through in terms of the brackets. So the Champions Hockey League matchups begin on Tuesday 14th and Wednesday 15th of November. And then the second leg will be the following week, Tuesday 21st, Wednesday 22nd. So it's about a month away before we get to the round last 16. But we will have Adler Mannheim playing Rapperswil Lakers. Lahti Pelicans taking on Vítkovice Radira. So the winners of those 2 games will face each other in the quarterfinals. Färjestad, current league leaders in the Swedish Hockey League, take on BLBN. Skellefteå take on HWI Trinec. Winner of that one, winner of those 2 face each other in the quarterfinals. Then moving on, Ilves Tampere the remaining Tampere team in the Champions Hockey League. They take on Dynamo Pardubice, a really good game in prospect there. And Lukko Rama taking on Innsbruck, so the winners of those two face each other in the quarterfinals. And in the final section, Genève Servette take on Red Bull Munich, and Växjö Lakers take on Ingolstadt. So yes, really exciting matchups, some really interesting matchups, and ones that could make for quite different brackets when you work it through, depending on who gets through in this first round. It's going to be exciting, going to be fascinating to see who comes through. Tampere out, of course, does put the cat among the pigeons somewhat, but there's still some very, very good teams. I'm not sure if it's really opening up the draw for anyone particularly. Still a long way to go, and a long way to go over the course of the rest of the Champions Hockey League season, but very exciting start, and it should be great to watch all of the games when they come along. So the first round, 14th and 15th of November, coming our way. Let's take a look at the domestic leagues, though, and we will start in the SHL, the Swedish Hockey League. A few key stories I've picked out. They generally play Thursday and Saturday in the Swedish Hockey League, then some games on a Tuesday too. So looking back at Thursday and Sunday just gone, Färjestad, they're the league leaders, but they lost twice on the week. 2 shootout losses, unfortunately, for them. They lost on the road 2-1 to Luleå on Thursday, and then lost in a big game against Frölunda, so they really didn't like that one, losing against their rivals. They won against Luleå on Thursday. I watched the highlights. To be honest, Luleå were unlucky not to be 2 or 3 up after the first period. They would have been, had it not been for the heroics in net by Max Legacy, former Vegas Golden Knight and Pittsburgh Penguin. Luleå's Jonas Berglund finally broke the resistance 3 minutes into the second period. Marcus Nilsson levelled it halfway through the third, but the shootout was their undoing. And then the game on Saturday against Frölunda, David Edström decided to shoot out. Lovely move to win that one, to get the final shootout to win. Second time he's won the shootout for them this season. It's their first away win of the season for Frölunda, so a really nice game for them. Per Rosslund got his 400th SHL point for Färjestad in the loss in front of 8,250 people, a sellout crowd in that one. But unfortunately for Färjestad, it was Frölunda who went away happy. Meanwhile, Örebro are up to second with 2 wins over the course of this past week. They got a 6-2 home win against HV71 on Thursday, and then they got a 5-2 home win against Linköping. So the win over HV71 on Thursday, it was actually closer than the final score made it look. Örebro marched away with 3 goals in the final 7 minutes. Emil Larsson scored twice, and the Winnipeg Jets first rounder from last year, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, got a 6th goal of the season in that one. Then Örebro got a 5-2 win against Linköping. The team were playing in pink, pretty in pink, for breast cancer awareness. That made a lovely sight. There, that was in front of a sold-out Bern Arena. They took a 3-2 lead with 3 minutes to go and went on and won that one. Robert Leno scored 2 goals in the game. Lekkerimäki got some more points in that one. 4 straight games with points for him. Signed his entry-level contract with the Vancouver Canucks over the summer. You would expect this to be his final year in European hockey before heading over to North America for the 24-25 season, and he certainly started this one in style with Örebro. Next up, the reigning SHL champions Växjö Lakers are on the rise. It's been a bit of a tricky one for them. They started the Champions Hockey League so well. They're fantastic in the Champions Hockey League, but the SHL has been a bit of a slow start for them, but they're starting to kick into gear now. Marcus Silvergård got the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win against Modo on Thursday, and then they got a 2-1 away win over Leksands on Saturday. Now at Östlund, the Sabres' 16th overall pick last year, with his second SHL goal in that game, had a tremendous regular season. The Champions Hockey League, 7 points in 6 games for Östlund, so really good showing by him. At the other end of the table, Oskarshamn are off the bottom on goal difference or points difference, whichever way you want to look at it. They had a shootout win against Leksand on Thursday and then thumped Modo 7-2 at home on Saturday. Modo actually took a 1-0 lead in this game through Josh Dixon, but Oskarshamn scored 3 times in the second, then piled on goals later on. Patrick Karlqvist with 2 goals and 2 assists. Meanwhile, HV71, oh my dears, got 8-0 pumping by Malmö at home. What a shocker for them. According to the SHL website, the biggest home defeat since an 8-0 thumping by Linköping in November 2001. There were 3 goals in the second, 3 goals in 53 seconds in the third period. That is when you know the wheels have really come off, when you're letting 3 goals in less than a minute. Deary me, terrible times. And another game I will pick out, the highlights of this, well worth a watch. Go and watch them on YouTube. Skellefteå staged a stunning come-from-behind victory over Rögle, 6-3 at the Katina Arena on Thursday. Rögle raced into a 3-0 lead in the first period. Goals from Thomas Gregory, Rodrigo Olbols and Adam Tambellini before Skellefteå hit back with 3 of their own in the second period. Axel Sandin Pelika, the Detroit Red Wings 17th overall pick earlier this summer, put a finishing touch on the win with his 5th goal of the season. Anton Heikkinen, got his first 2 goals of the season, and that one Oscar Lindberg scored and registered 3 assists. So a really incredible game, a heartbreaker for Rögle, it has to be said, but exciting to watch for the rest of us. Taking a look at the top of the table then. Färjestad still out there in front of Örebro, 2 points ahead of Örebro, and have 2 games in hand on Örebro too. So Färjestad on 26 points from 12 games, Örebro 24 points from their 14 games, and then Luleå and Skellefteå both have 23 points from their 12 games so far. So that is where we are in the Swedish Hockey League. One little bit of roster news coming to you from Lee Hockey Allsvenska, the 2nd division in Sweden, and that is a move for Studio Maffeos. He has joined Södertälje, how do we pronounce that again? Södertälje, I think it is. Södertälje. Yes, Södertälje, let's call it that. Studio Maffeos, he was a 3rd round pick of the Carolina Hurricanes back in 2017. Never quite made things work for himself in the American Hockey League. Wasn't extended a qualifying offer this summer by Carolina and recently released by Manitoba Moose. So he is heading to Europe for the first time, heading to Sweden. A great story, battle back from testicular cancer. There's various stories online all about that, so well worth a read about his very inspirational story to be out there playing hockey still. According to their websites, he is supposing to land in Sweden sometime this week. They hope he'll be playing with them maybe the end of this week, maybe next week, but he should be in the team for Södertälje very soon. Heading now on to Finland, and a range of stories here off the ice, some more concerning than others, it has to be said. The Hockey News broke the story back on Thursday. Tapara Tompra announcing that the Calgary Flames prospect Topi Ronnie will be away from the club after he received a court summons regarding an allegation of rape. The 19-year-old was a Calgary Flames 2nd round pick in 2022. The alleged crime took place a couple of years ago. No date for the proceedings at this point, but he has decided to take a step away, which of course makes sense. So yes, concerning times there for the Flames prospect. Slightly differently, Carolina Hurricanes defensive prospect Anthony Honka has been loaned back to JYP of the Finnish Liga. It's where he's played pretty much all of his hockey so far. And of course, Carolina are in that very difficult situation where they have lost their AHL affiliate. So are struggling to find places for their players. Apparently, the initial idea was potentially he would play in the ECHL with the Norfolk Admirals, but that's the 3rd tier of hockey in North America. So they've decided to send him back to Finland, and we'll see how he gets on there. Good addition for JYP. Obviously know him very well. And then finally, yesterday on Sunday, it was announced that Adam Clendenning has signed for Ilves Tampere, the second-round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks back in 2011. Last played in the NHL in the 18-19 season with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's played over 500 games in the American Hockey League, heads to Europe for the first time. He was in Tampere on Sunday, being interviewed by various media people there. Hopes to be involved on Wednesday in the Ilves' game against Kuku. So a good addition for them there, and could benefit, as I put on our Twitter account, could benefit the Vancouver prospect Joni Jurmo as well. Third round selection in 2020. Good to have that experienced player to pick his brain. Someone who's played so much in the American Hockey League, has a great understanding of the more North American hockey style. So could be very beneficial to Joni Jurmo's development too. Let's take a look at the standings in the Finnish Liiga then, and a bit of an update on what's going on. So Tampere, a nightmare in the Champions Hockey League, of course, but they are well out in front in the league. 36 points from their 14 games, 9 points ahead of HIFK. Tampere recovered from their 6-3 Champions Hockey League loss to win 6-1 at home against Saipa, and then 4-1 win on the road against Carpet at the weekend. Petteri Puhaka got a hat-trick against Saipa after 2 against BLBN in the week in the Champions Hockey League. And then there were 2 goals each for Anton Levski and for Otto Sompi against Carpet, who had Noel Gunda playing for them after his loan move from Carolina. Elsewhere, Luko Rama are in 5th, despite the fact that they are really shipping goals at the moment. They lost 6-3 away to Lahti Pelicans on Friday, and then they lost 6-1 at home to Jukurit on Saturday. Then heading on to the Penny DEL, and former NHL player Tyler Ennis has joined Adler Mannheim. He has played 724 NHL games, ending his NHL time with my Edmonton Oilers. Played for Bern last season in the National League in Switzerland. There had been rumours actually of him potentially getting some sort of deal with an NHL team this summer. Similar to quite a few other players there, they were looking for opportunities. Obviously, so many teams in the NHL are up against the cap, so struggling for space on their budget and looking for some cheap options who potentially could come in, maybe put them in the American Hockey League for a while and bring them up as and when needed. So he was looking at a potential opportunity there, but one really didn't come about to his liking. So he has decided to come back to Europe and has joined the Penny DEL by joining Adler Mannheim. Looking at their website, Ennis is due to arrive, or was due to arrive in Mannheim yesterday. The plan was for him to train with the Eagles and to have his medical and everything Tuesday morning. And if they can get all of the paperwork done, which I'm sure with their German efficiency they will do, Ennis could make his debut for Mannheim on Thursday in the away game against Iserlohn with shirt number 63, his customary 63 that he wore for Bern last season. He is going to wear for Adler Mannheim as well. And we can take a look at the standings so far in the Penny DEL. Eisbären Berlin top the standings with 27 points from their 13 games so far. They got a 5-2 win over Laufen Frankfurt to start the weekend off, but then 4-2 loss at Fishtown, the wonderfully named Fishtown Penguins. That was in front of 13,000 people at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin. German veteran Marcel Nubels leads the league with 16 points from 12 games for Eisbären. So they're going well. Meanwhile, Adler Mannheim are stuck there in second, just 1 point behind. They got a 4-1 win away to Kosice in the Champions Hockey League, as I mentioned earlier. And a strong 6-2 home win over Nuremberg Ice Tigers, but Lynn took a 4-1 loss at Dusseldorf on Sunday. And I think we've seen that with a few teams really of late. When you're playing in the Champions Hockey League on a Tuesday, then back-to-back Thursday, then Saturday, or sometimes Thursday, Sunday. It's a lot of games. 3 games in 6 days is a lot for these guys. So felt like they perhaps ran out of steam a little bit at the end there, but still going very well for Adler Mannheim in their league, and very well for them in the Champions Hockey League. So Tyler Ennis, a really good addition for them. Will be exciting to see how he goes with the team, not just in the Penny DL, but in the Champions Hockey League too. So there we go. That is a lot of European hockey news to cover. Plenty of exciting things to come. And the excitement just keeps on coming because, yes, it is time to take a look across the pond and to focus in on the NHL.
Check it out.
So the NHL, plenty of news to cover from the NHL to come up with. One bit of news that I caught just before starting this stream, and very sad news it is too, and much more concerning than anything that goes on the ice. It's been announced that the Winnipeg Jets head coach Rick Bowness is going to take time away from the team. His wife Judy suffered a seizure and is in hospital. So Winnipeg announced this morning Bowness will be taking a leave of absence to attend to the health of his wife. Very understandably so. It appears as though assistant coach Scott Arniel will take over the coaching duties in the interim. So very best wishes to Rick Bowness and his wife and the family at a very difficult time. And like I say, much more important and impactful than any hockey news that we would normally cover. We will move on to some more on-ice hockey news, and we start, as we normally do on a Monday live stream, by having a look at the NHL's 3 stars of the week. No doubt who would win top spot. Alex DeBrincat, the new Detroit Red Wing, has had an incredible time of things this past week, leading the 3 stars in the NHL. Shared the league leading goals over the week with 5 and is absolutely flying with the Red Wings. Alexander Georgiev for the Colorado Avalanche got the 2nd star, went 3-0 across the week with 1 shutout, helping the Avalanche to a 5-0 start. The 3rd start was Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers. It counted for half of Florida's 10 goals on the week, scoring in all 3 games that the Panthers played this past week, doing extremely well. But we'll move back to the man at the top of the charts, Alex DeBrincat. And what a great addition. We all knew he would be a wonderful addition for the Detroit Red Wings. It was a real shame that it didn't work out for him at Ottawa. But that relationship broke down for whatever reason. There were some rumours that he wasn't too happy that he got taken away from Tim Stützle in favour of Brady Tkachuk and thought he should be on the line with Stützle. Whether there's any truth to that, I don't know. How important it was to him, who knows. But he has moved on. And to be fair, Detroit didn't really have to give up too much to get him. I thought that was a very good deal for the Detroit Red Wings. Steve Yzerman doing his magic some there. And yes, that top line with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond has been absolutely flying coming out of the gates here for the Detroit Red Wings, as has the team, basically. So DeBrincat leads the league in points with 12. Dylan Larkin is just behind on 11. DeBrincat leads the league in goals with 8. Larkin leads the league in assists with 8. Joint leader with Elias Pettersson. And yes, that line with Lucas Raymond working brilliantly. Detroit are 5-1 through their first 6 games. So going incredibly well. Elsewhere, of course, Boston are 5-0. Colorado are 5-0. And the Vegas Golden Knights, the reigning champs, are 6-0. So those are the 3 unbeaten teams so far in the NHL. Let's see how far they can keep that streak going. Next up, this was a contentious moment in the game between the Calgary Flames and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Calgary Flames defenseman Rasmus Andersson has been suspended for 4 games because of a charging incident against Patrick Laine. This came on Friday. The National Hockey League's Department of Player Safety announced their decision on Sunday. The Players Association say they are going to appeal it. So we shall see. But he is currently banned for 4 games. Without pay, he'll give up nearly $100,000 as part of that. I've put on the screen a still shot of the moment when he connects, which is always difficult because when you take a screenshot at a moment of connection, it's the same in football, isn't it? It always sometimes looks worse than it may be, but it did look a very dodgy play, I have to say. It came with just 5 seconds to go in the game. Right from the off, you know that, is it really necessary? Was that a necessary clean hit? I think it's hard to say it was. And then he has tried to argue that Patrick Laine was kind of leaning in and going a bit low as he was shooting at the puck. And there's a certain amount of truth to that, but you could see he was going to do that anyway. And when you watch the footage back, he does seem to rise up a bit with his elbow. Whether it was intentional or not, whether he's really intended to catch him in the head, no, potentially not. But it was deemed by the Department of Player Safety to be, and I quote, an unnecessary upward movement with force. And yeah, they are repeating it, but I'll be honest, I didn't have any issues with the suspension. I think it was fair enough. It was an unnecessary hit right at the end of the game. I'm not sure by the news so far, it doesn't look like Patrick Laine is too badly injured, thankfully. That's the only good thing to come out of it. But yeah, I would be surprised if that got overturned or reduced in any capacity, because I mean, 4 game suspension for that was fair enough, if you ask me. More positive news came last week for Sweden's youngster Leo Carlsson. Second overall pick earlier this summer, scored on his Anaheim Ducks debut on Thursday against Dallas. Of course, the Anaheim Ducks went on to lose the game. That's how they are this season. They lost 3-2, but an incredible moment for Leo Carlsson. Had to wait a couple of games before he could make his debut because of a slight lower body injury, but got the goal in front of his parents. Wonderful to see them celebrating in the crowd. Troy Terry picked it up the puck, started a 2-on-1, slid it across. Leo Carlsson knocked it home past Jake Ottinger for his first of many, I am sure. So a wonderful moment for him. And always, I feel, a great moment for European hockey to have a big name prospect coming through and immediately starting out well, reflects so well on the Swedish Hockey League and European hockey more generally. So great news there for Leo Carlsson, and good news for the future for the Ducks. We know they're in a bit of a mess right now, but good news for them that Leo Carlsson has hit the ground running. And finally, on the NHL news, I really don't want to cover this, but I kind of have to, really, don't I? As an Oilers fan, it's a difficult one. Connor McDavid is out. He is injured. Hell has frozen over. The worst thing to happen has happened. The Oilers started really poorly so far this season. And in their game at the weekend, just went to pot, really. Went to pot. Coming into the final bit, McDavid wasn't on the ice for the final 4 minutes and didn't come out for overtime. He did come out in between the end of the third period and the start of overtime just to do a little bit of a skate around, see where he felt, but he clearly wasn't right, holding his left side, his left hip. They haven't really given any further details about it, other than the fact that he will be out for between 1 and 2 weeks. Now, there are a few things to say about that. Losing McDavid is a nightmare for the NHL because he's such a great player. It's terrible for the Oilers. A huge miss anyway, but the state the Oilers are in right now is difficult to overstate just how bad a situation the Oilers are now in. We're up against it with a cap. We basically have no way to add anyone. We were a player down anyway. And we now have to do without Connor McDavid. He's not going to be on the long-term injured reserve list because he's not going to be out that long, and I hope he's not going to be out that long. So they can't replace him right now, and they're basically going to have to go with what they've got. And what they've got has not been working very well at all. Other than Leon Draisaitl, who's been tremendous, there's been a few good performers actually in there. Zach Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Dylan Holloway has looked pretty good, even though he's not getting any points. He's looked very aggressive and sharp in the early goings, but the rest of the forward lines have looked really poor, to be honest. A couple of them, you can understand it. Ryan McLeod didn't really get any time in pre-season. Matthias Ekholm on the back end was the same. So they're struggling to kind of get their skates underneath them, it feels a little bit. Same with Connor Brown, who missed all of last season. He was really the only addition for the Oilers over the off-season. He's looked a bit sluggish, looked a bit better in the last game, I will say. Evander Kane got into a fight in the last game. He's another one who just hasn't quite looked on it so far. So, boy, do the Oilers need these guys to step up, because losing McDavid is going to hurt you in any situation whatsoever. But when the team isn't playing very well and really needs to be picking up some wins early in the season, I know it's early, but we really need to be picking up some wins. Probably going to miss 5 or 6 games over the next couple of weeks, and well, I mean, if the Oilers can go 3-3 over that period, it would be a bit of a miracle considering the way we're playing at the moment. But they're going to need to pick it up. The big shame for everyone is that one of the games Conor McDavid is going to miss is the game coming up on Sunday at, let me get it right, it is the Commonwealth Stadium, home of the Edmonton Elks of the, I think it's the Canadian Football League, can't say I follow it, but big outdoor game and Heritage Classic, and unfortunately Conor McDavid is going to miss it, which is a real shame. But that brings us, of course, to having a little look across the NHL with the games we have coming up this week. So, as I mentioned right at the start of the show, it is Frozen Frenzy on Tuesday night. All 32 teams are in action. I'll be honest, I didn't realise it was quite so rare that all 32 teams are in action. But yeah, it doesn't happen very often. ESPN are going to town on the coverage, which is great to see. Good for hockey to have that national exposure. Don't tend to get it in North America, or at least in America, as much as they should do, in my opinion. But that should be great to see. And looking across some of the games. So Tuesday, all the teams are playing. Games that really catch my eye through this. Buffalo at Ottawa. Carolina at Tampa Bay, that should be a really good one. Dallas at Pittsburgh. Boston at Chicago with Connor Bedard. Wednesday, I think it's just one game. Washington at New Jersey Devils. Thursday, 11 games. Pick it a bunch for me. Toronto at Dallas. And the New York Rangers at Edmonton. I'm not sure that's really a pick, is it? Conor McDavid has done some brutal damage to the New York Rangers in the past, so they will be very happy. And that's the other side of it with McDavid. I mean, it's a big boost to know that Conor McDavid isn't going to be out there for the Oilers. So that will be interesting to see how the Oilers get going. And that one, the Oilers actually are playing Tuesday night in Minnesota. So that's going to be the first test of the McDavid-less Oilers. Friday night, we've got Buffalo at New Jersey Devils that I picked out, and also St. Louis at Vancouver. That should be a good one. On Saturday, the early game, we can see Leo Carlson in early action. The Flyers at the Ducks. That starts at 6 p.m. UK time, so 7 p.m. European time. And the other games to look out for on the Saturday, Detroit at Boston. That should be a really good one. Two teams playing very well at the start of the season. And another team, of course, playing very well at the start of the season, the Vegas Golden Knights. They are at the LA Kings, a big game from the Western Pacific there. And like I said, Sunday, Heritage game. Unfortunately, Conor McDavid won't be part of it, but it will still be such a great spectacle. It always is, those outside games at the Edmonton Elks Stadium, the Commonwealth Stadium. Should be good to watch. And hopefully the Oilers can get a win there, because boy, do they need it against Flames. They need some wins desperately. So there we are. That is us. What are we? 40 minutes in. That's a good live stream of 40 minutes. Thanks for watching. If you've been watching live, my plan is to do one, as I've mentioned before, to do a live stream every Monday at 8 p.m. UK time. So that's 9 p.m. Central European. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern time. Work it out for yourselves from there. I am considering doing one on a Thursday or a Friday too, particularly just to pick up on some NHL news. So I may do a Monday European heavy live stream, because that works well with most of the teams playing across the weekend, and then adding in an NHL specific one on the Thursday. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've got a few on that. But thank you for watching. If you've been watching live or you're watching on repeat, don't forget to check out the blog at hockeywithice.uk. We're available on Twitter at hockeywithice. And of course, subscribe, hit the notification bell here at the Hockey with Ice YouTube channel to be notified of live streams and my sadness during Oilers watch-alongs, which, I don't know. I did a watch-along Sunday morning video and it was painful. So maybe I'll give it a skip and just do a review coming out after the game if the Oilers have won. Maybe that's the only way I can cope. Who knows? Anyway, thanks a lot for watching again. And I'll see you next Monday on the live stream. Same time, same place here on a Hockey with Ice YouTube channel.